Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all colors all around the world, pay attention to what I'm spitting. I'm giving you straight facts. All heads beware. Welcome to No Cap. Back live, man. It's a beautiful day. I've been watching the videos, looking at my mannerisms. I'm a little too chill, but kind of hard not to be too chill when you basically having a conversation with yourself and you're not really talking to somebody else. Most of the time, your nonverbals and the fluctuations in your tempo and your volume, your cadence, all of that comes from interacting with somebody else. So I'm gonna try to get a little bit more active, put more energy into it, like I'm actually talking to somebody. For me, somebody who barely talk, it's awkward. Just talking, just hearing your own voice. I don't need to hear my own voice. I know what I sound like, but you're doing a pod, man. You gotta improve, steady climbing, steady improving, steady climbing, steady improving. So baby steps. Today, like for anybody that knows me, I used to be on Facebook more so than Instagram because Instagram is more so based on photos. I really talk, so I'm definitely not taking photos of myself. The vanity is not in me. But when I'm on Instagram, I post like food or sites that I know my people, my folk who've never been anywhere, never tried anything different, just in a rut or they comfortable in their lane. I'll post or I'll share just so they can be able to experience what I'm experiencing, so they can live vicariously through me. It's different on Facebook. I treated it more so like I'm writing a book and I'm trying to inspire myself, my future self, when I come back and read it over. So I don't know at what point it started. Maybe when I was in college. So super young, I started posting. I mean, for college folk, if you look at it from like age 70, it is young. You looking back at yourself like you don't know shit. So I'm using foresight to basically have a conversation with hindsight, if that makes sense. But I'll make a post and it'll be related to a situation that I've either experienced, seen, or had a conversation about. And I'll give uncut perspective on it. It won't be lengthy, won't be wordy, just be something quick where from my perspective, if I read it, I can pick up on it, be like, oh, okay, cool, that makes sense. And instead of continuing to post over there, I'm like, if I'm gonna do the podcast, I might as well take all of these ideas and these opinions and shift them over to the right spot. And then I got to the point like, you know what? I need to take those same ideas and those clips, those tidbits of information I was dropping and bring them over here. So every blue moon, it could be every day of a week, or it could be once a week or once a month. I'm gonna drop one of them, and then let the conversation go from there. Because I used to like reading things like Aesop's fables, or for people who were into the Bible, but into true understanding of the Bible, you understand that it's mostly allegorical. So you'll take a quote, and it's not meant to be taken literally. It's meant to be dropped as something to think on, to think about it, to try to relate it to what you got going on, and then try to basically connect the dots from there. And that's pretty much how I started talking to myself or motivating myself through social media. And the quote I was thinking about today was, it's adjacent to the title, but it doesn't have to be completely dependent on it. Because, I mean, you can read money versus moral. I want to say morals, but nah, it doesn't relate to all your morals at one time. So I want to keep things singular. But the idea that hit me today was, if you don't have anything that you're willing to die for, then you really don't have anything to live for. And that goes with the ideology of the day, because we in a situation, a social climate where it's like, if you don't chase money, you're gonna be in hell. People are already working themselves to death, 2, 3 jobs, going to college, picking up more debt, getting certifications, picking up more debt, getting themselves ragged, basically burning the candles from both ends. Where you young with money, but you never make it to be old with money because how hard you work yourself, or how much you overwork yourself, or you working just hard enough to maintain yourself, and you can't do anything besides that. You stuck in survival mode. That idea is kind of the defining factor of what's going on with money versus moral. So it's a decision that has to be made between, am I going to keep fighting to survive going this route, or am I going to stand on principles and then be forced to make it make sense on the back end? And when you trying to figure out what to live for, your morals should be in lockstep with it. So if surviving becomes a life or death decision, then that means something has to give. Because in no way, shape, or form should you have to make life decisions, make or break decisions every day. As an adult, honestly, you should only make a major decision like that at the most once a week. You only pay bills 1 or 2 times a month, and your bills pretty much sustain you. You interact with people every day, but it's not like you going out of your way every day to put yourself in dangerous situations. At least most of us aren't. So that shouldn't be a life or death situation. But when you currently in survival mode, and you always in survival mode, every decision you make is life or death. Whether I pay the light bill, whether I pay rent, whether I'm gonna go get something to eat today, or whether I gotta put gas in the car. There's so many situations that pop up where it's like, I'm scratching and surviving. But when you take yourself out of your situation and you look at why you stuck in survival mode, you forced to either accept it or make drastic changes, which require you to have some kind of fortitude about yourself. Fortitude being the result of having morals and standing on them. It's been major for me from jump that my morals move everything. And I'm somebody who, regardless of the consequences, I'm gonna stand on my morals. So if it means I got to make this decision. And that's just the end of me. That's just gonna be the end of me. But I'm super resolute. These things are important to me. They they uphold the respect and the integrity that I need, and I need to have reverberating anytime somebody brings my name up. And it comes with a heavy price. There are multiple situations in which standing on principle ended up with empty pockets. There's a cost attached to it. Opportunity cost. You do this, that means you lose this. And the more you choose money over morals, the more people perceive that as a way to control folk. And now we can dangle you farther and farther away from your morals until the point where, since you don't have morals, all you have is money. So you desperate. Standing on morals relinquishes all desperation from you because you can't be controlled. What's inside you and what you want to put out into the world isn't an external factor. There's nothing that anybody else can do that can make you waver because it's self-respect driven, it's self-esteem driven, it's self-confidence driven. Compared to money, you can't make money yourself. You're not about to go home and just print it out. Money is a social construct, something you have to get from others and has to be validated from others in order to have value. You can have $10,000 in Jamaican money. It holds value, but if you're in America, it doesn't have any value. And it's the same thing when you dealing with money versus morals, where your morals don't hold any value to others, but it doesn't require validation. It's something that's within you where as long as you're okay with it, you don't need validation. And that's a scary proposition to present to folk when you're in survival mode. And in a lot of the cases that come to mind, survival mode isn't even present. It's more so after a generation has picked money over morality, you get to a point where you don't teach morality. So it's like an ancient ideology. So all that's respected is money. And again, money is a social construct. Somebody else has to validate money in order for it to hold value. Not the same with morals. If you were a man and you didn't do business with men of ill repute, there was no amount of money in the world that would make you do business with these individuals. You weren't a positive individual, and interacting with you is going to rub off on me, and people are going to look at me sideways, and I can't have that. I don't respect what you stand for, what you stand on, or what you represent. So your money is no good here. That meant something, and that means something still, but it's so scarce to use that the concept almost seems dead to the world. Create money because everybody's leaned into it and everybody values it and everybody is after it. And because it's been dangled in front of you and in front of your kids for so long, money has replaced morals. There's nothing that won't be done for the right price. And that's a dangerous place to live in, man. Super dangerous. So I had a conversation before with one of my guys, and I'm like, it's crazy that you almost can put a price tag on people right now. And before there was no way. You couldn't buy me. I'm only gonna do what I want when I want because how I feel about myself means more than whatever satisfaction I'm gonna get. And it's easy. You can, whether you in the family, whether you in the neighborhood, in the community, in the dating world, whether you in the schools, whether you, the easiest place to look at it is through the professional realm. People have a price. For example, say you work for yourself, right? Entrepreneurs understand this. There's no off time technically for an entrepreneur. You on call, you on the schedule, you're open for business 24/7. Even when your office hours, your business hours, or for an allotted time, there's always something that can be done or something that you should be doing. There's never a time where you can sit back and be like, okay, nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to be invested in. Nothing needs to be researched. Just, it's all good. Doesn't happen. But with always having work to do on the other side, you can pick and choose when you feel like doing it. You have complete control, basically. What you wear, who you talk to, what you eat, when you eat, everything is just up to you. But the fear of not knowing what to do with all that freedom often tends to outweigh with the joy that you could have from having all your freedom. Crazy, crazy, right? But follow me. Remember, money versus moral. When you get away from your morals, you get away from what's important to you, you've been dangled money. So you, in that sense of desperation I was talking about, sink or swim. Your morals are like a lifeboat. They done dangled you out of the lifeboat, and now they're using this log. Not even a life vest, this log, piece of driftwood that's floating through the ocean, using that as like a carrot where if you don't want to feel like you drowning, better go this way. Whole time, you're not in the ocean, you're just on the beach. You can stand up. At any point in time, you can just stand up and be okay. When you're an entrepreneur, you got the lifeboat just in case something happens. It might rain, it might flood. Noah's Ark. I got my boat already. When you an employee, somebody told you that you're drowning or that you're going to drown unless you work for this driftwood. So you're gonna follow and do whatever you told. But when you doing whatever you told, you get to that point where you're getting used, right? And you basically seceded control. And if you think about it, the folk that clock in, I don't have anything against anybody who's an entrepreneur or anybody who's an employee. Again, everybody's just doing what they know best. But as an employee, it's what's understood don't need to be explained. The folk that pay you control everything about your life. They control when you choose to have fun. They control when you eat, whether you get to exercise, whether you get to see the sun or not, what you get to eat, what you wear, what you value, what your focus is. They control majority of your life. And in that situation, you rarely pay attention to it because again, you're chasing after that money. You need that money. It's a secure amount of money that you're after, the bag. But look at the bag, take that number, subtract your taxes, look at your take home number after taxes, and that's how much you can be bought for. Crazy. You didn't think you were selling yourself either when you just sign your W4, your W2s. your 1099, when you jumped in there and you signed on a dotted line for whatever contract, signed up for your insurance or whatever, you didn't think you were selling yourself. But think back on what I just said on what your employer controls. For a majority of folk that work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, majority of your focus is on work. Your entire day is based upon work. So your entire week is based upon work. So you're not focused on enjoying life. You're not focused on individuality. You focused on being lockstep with being controlled for that bag. When you eat, where you eat, everything's being controlled. And for most folk, once you work, you don't feel like doing nothing after work. So the only time you're gonna actually live life is the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So 7 days in a week, you give yourself at the most 48 hours to actually live life. That doesn't mean have fun or explore, but to be in control of how your day unfolds, you give yourself 48 hours out of the week. Now extrapolate that out to 52 weeks. Now 30 years. And that's how much leeway you gave yourself out of the entire total of hours that is. Hold up, we can even do the math, right? And the crazy thing about it is when you explain it in layman's terms like that, it makes people look at life completely different. So let's say 48 hours, right? 52 weeks, right? Little less than 2,500 hours a year times 30. So for 30 years, you gave yourself 75,000 hours to actually live. Divide that by 24 because that's a day. 3,120 days. Again, divide that by 365. So after all that math, it comes down to in 30 years, you only give yourself 8.5 of those years to live. And that's not in, remember, I didn't subtract for sleep or for any responsibilities that might pop up or any sacrifices that might pop up. So in 30 years, you give yourself 8.5 years to actually experience life. So that's, again, let's go back to it, 8.5, 21.5. So you get to live life 28% of the time. So rounded, it's like a quarter. You lived a quarter of your life in 30 years. Essentially, you sold yourself. That's it's a real pessimistic way to look at it, but it's also the realistic way to look at it. Compared to entrepreneurs who are completely in control of it for the entire 30 years, they can be on or off when they feel like it, or they can grind hard for 2 years and step back and let somebody else take control of it, or they can grind it out the full 30 years. There's a lot more variance on entrepreneur side, but with the control, you also are aware, you're present, and that's a major idea where you being present every day for 30 years compared to for folks that work 9 to 5. How many of it real deal? Because I've been an employee before. How many times do you work a job where you mentally checked out anyway? The job is the job. You know it's Sunday. You know you got to clock in on Monday. You ain't feeling it. It go from Sunday to Friday real quick, and you coasted. You wasn't even present for 5 days. So for them 40 hours that you worked that week, you sacrificed way more than that. You worked for 40 hours, but you sacrificed 80 because you was coasting. You weren't present. Money versus moral. It's it's a situation that and that was just one example, and that's not even an example that needs to be addressed. That was one where it's easier to break down because it's something that affects everybody. No matter what decision you make, you're gonna have to get to that point where you're picking, you're choosing your fighter. You either want this one or that one. There's no way around that. Now you get to the optional situations and scenarios of life where it doesn't affect everybody. And I try not to speak in absolutes because nothing is completely the same. Everything's according to situations, but I'd like to speak in generalities and speak to the masses, what affects the majority. And in these situations, it affects the majority and it's growing a growing majority. Money versus moral and dating. Most folk don't know what they're interested in or who they're interested in because morals isn't what's leading it. It's money and not even physical currency anymore. Attention is the new currency, and now people are actually dating and going out and starting families based on how much attention are they getting. It's it's I'm gonna not judge. I'm not gonna judge, but you understand how that sounds. Folks are really making lifelong decisions based on how much attention are they getting, and is the attention from the people that they want it from. You're not even focused on the actual task at hand. Your morals aren't driving you. That money, that currency, attention is what's driving you. But anybody that works in schools, shout out to the teachers. Y'all are underpaid, underappreciated, but without you, the country is ass out. Walk through a school hallway, look at how kids act, but then look at how they dressed. Designer clothes, super designer clothes, like dressed like rich kids. You can be in a public school in the brokest part of town. They gonna be dressed like a fashion show in Paris, but they don't know how to spell, can't communicate, no social skills, no respect isn't required. Say what they want to who they want when they want. The only thing that's high quality about kids in schools is their outfit selection. And this isn't even a proper representation of the kids. This is a representation of the parents and of the community. The community showed the parents what looks good. So they exchange money for the attention. Money, even exchange. It's almost the same as going to an international airport and exchanging your dollars for yen. I'm gonna pay whatever price so me and my kids get the proper attention to look like something instead of actually being something. Terrible. And it all lends itself to the same issue where there's a growing sense from almost everybody you speak to, there's like a minute group of people who oppose this idea of people suck. If you were to ask 100 people, 92 of them would say, man, people suck. It's terrible out here. And then if you were to turn the question around and ask the same 100 people, now, what are you doing to make sure that it doesn't suck out here? Nothing. Whether I got the experience, whether I had bad experiences or not, I'm going to perpetuate the idea that people ain't shit. But I'm not doing anything to showcase otherwise. Money versus morals, because whether people suck or not, they're going to go to work. Whether you have a poor experience or not, you're going to still go spend your money. Somebody can mistreat the hell out you. You can go to a restaurant, say you go to McDonald's, they talk to you bad. You're not going to stop going to McDonald's, you're just going to switch locations. We see it all the time. There's these fake movements where people, oh, I don't like how I was treated. They did so and so and so and so this way and that way. Bet we're not gonna spend no money there. How long that lasts? And even then, it's the same groups of people that own all of this. So you, it's the same as I'm not gonna put money in your right hand. I don't like how your right hand looks, so I'm gonna go put some money in your left hand, or I'm gonna go put some money in your back pocket, make myself feel better about it. There's no morality in that. You didn't stand on that. You still spent the money. Nothing changed. Money versus morality. Like, it's easy to stand on something, but it's hard to deal with the consequences of actually standing on business. A lot of folk use that standing on business as just a call and cry or a way to grab attention. Standing on business to them is I'm not gonna let myself be embarrassed. And in certain situations that can show up as looking like you protecting your morals, but it's not. The standing on business was something that was uncomfortable where I'm rooted in my stance. Not I'm standing on top of somebody, but I'm gonna stand here and I know there's a storm coming. But regardless of that storm, I'm not going I'm not getting knocked off my square because this patch this patch that I'm standing on, my morals and my foundation that I'm standing on, it means more to me than just not getting wet. That's that's really the best way to describe society today is I'm not going I'm not going to protect my strip, my little plot of grass. It don't really mean nothing. I don't get applause whether I should or not. I don't get applauded for protecting my little patch of grass. You know what I get applauded for? Going in the house and showing people that I'm dry. It's nothing special about it. They going through the same thing, but the attention is what matters more than the end result. Why? There are a few sayings that pop up. One of which is common sense ain't so common anymore. Common sense is no longer common. That can be translated to folks ain't got no morals. Common sense was based in morality. This is how we view life. So these are the decisions we make. We have an understanding of ourselves and of our community. So from that understanding, we make certain decisions. Common sense ain't common because you don't have that stance anymore. You everywhere all the time, doing everything, so you're not focused on anything. And that common sense ain't common. That's just one of the phrases that pops up. There's other things that pop up that are not as flagrant, but still just as important, where there's no way really to move forward in life with situations like that and continue to push the narrative that there's some kind of terror at the end, that everybody sucks, even though it sounds like a current state of affairs analysis. We read into it, is really, man, the world is ending. It's the precursor to, man, the world is ending. Because I don't trust nobody outside. I don't want to be outside. If ain't nobody outside, ain't nothing getting done. So we just gonna die slowly or die chaotic. But that's just my opinion on it. Like, think about this for yourself. And when is the last time you made a decision and you knew there were consequences on the backside of it? Or you knew there were immediate consequences, but who you are as a person became the number one most important factor in your decision. What decision did you make as a part of it? How did the people that you mess with, how did they view it? For the people who are involved, how did they perceive your decision making? Were you applauded, chastised, or were the results as a part of that or after the fact? Did your life change? How? When you go through that, you slowly understand that it's connected to everybody believing people suck, because there's no applause for doing the right thing. You don't get celebrated for being high character. That attention is currency. So if I don't get paid for doing the right thing, but I get paid for doing the common thing, which one you think I'm gonna do? When it's all tied to my survival. There aren't too many people in the world who say, I'm getting paid to just be a good person. And for those that do, it's not often publicized. Where are these role models at? The folk that actively show that my quality of life is top tier, and it's top tier because I'm choosing to do what's right by others. Who is that person? Remember, all the civil rights leaders is dead. And even then, how were they making money? Were they making money? How were they able to go from place to place? Which one of them didn't end up dead? So those are the examples. The folks that were high character, life looked hard. We didn't hear anything about any money being made. They all suffered like catastrophic consequences. They didn't even get celebrated. Like, even toward the end, they didn't get celebrated immediately. Because if they did, more people would have followed. And it's easier to make an example of one person than it is to make an example of 1,000. How often do people that you know openly celebrate good decision making? It's not done at the macro level. So as a group of people, we follow suit on a micro level. Don't believe me? How many coming home from prison parties do you see compared to get well or good luck going to college send away parties? Even better, how often do you celebrate people coming home from college compared to coming home from prison? Not graduation party. I mean, welcome home, welcome back to the community, because college often separates, isolates. How often do you celebrate or see people celebrate people being reintegrated into the community and not from suffering a consequence, but from making the decision to better their lives? Even with the military, when people come home, they rarely throw parties because you coming home. It's few and far between. How often do you see people celebrating not just getting married, but staying married? And from your wedding to anniversaries, how many people consistently show up and show that same love and support? That matters. Having the same amount, it's unheard of for you to have a wedding and then have the same amount of people show up to an anniversary party. It's almost impossible. But you can have the same amount of people show up for every baby shower. Parent don't even got to be the same. You can have a different parent, co-parent with you every time, but you'll get the same amount of attention for every baby shower. Why is that? Why do you why do we celebrate baby showers? Reproduction is there's nothing moral about that decision. Reproduction isn't good or bad. It's just natural part of life. So we go on above and beyond. And I'm not saying I have anything against baby showers. Anytime you have a reason to celebrate, you should celebrate. But why do we only choose to celebrate these situations compared to situations where maintaining your respect or having a high value character? Why are we not celebrating examples of maintaining high character? It it makes you think. It makes you think like it's weird. You community service award will rarely ever be the first thing that's celebrated or be promoted. We don't tell kids that you need to be the best version of yourself as an individual. We tell you to make as much money as possible. Don't tell you what to stand up for. We don't even give you examples of when to stand up. Just tell you, hey, make some money by any means possible. Why is that? Money versus morals. We can we can see that you're gonna need money. It's easy to track that you're gonna need money, but it's also easy to track that you're gonna need morals. But where are the examples of people standing on morals or morality meaning something? Once upon a time, it used to mean something. And the shift in society that matters. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. It's gonna be relevant in every conversation you have because when you're having societal conversations, it's impossible to exclude the change in ideology or any kind of political impact that pops up. Your your priorities is out of whack. And if not yours, are you holding your friends accountable? Have their priorities in check? Okay, you got a personal relationship. Are you doing the same thing at work, at church, out and about? If you see somebody doing something that you know they shouldn't be doing, do you speak up? Or do you go, man, I'm just mind my business? It's going to impact you. Whether you thinking it is or not, it's going to impact you. You can be directly involved or just so happen to be in the area and hear about it days later. Something's going to impact you. So why not speak up? Because morality is important. If it's important to you, it should always be important to you. Nothing in your environment should ever disagree with what you stand on or what you stand for. And there's literally nothing more important. There's nothing worth dying for that's going to be bigger than your morals. The protection of family is a moral. So if you say kids, protecting your kids and giving a good example is morals, giving them an opportunity. High moral thing to do. You rarely get into a situation in which, unless it's already a life or death situation, you rarely get in a situation in which money is worth dying for. Best way to word it is, if you're not going to die without it, rarely are you going to die for it. If I get in this situation and things do not go well, I'm gonna live and be all right. If that's the situation, it's not worth dying over. But your morals always, no matter where you are, and for people with high high character, they understand that no matter where they at, if something doesn't rub in the right way, it's offensive and it's next to impossible to stay around. Whether it's an environment where you don't agree with the behavior, or there's a person next to you that is demonstrating bad behavior. You're like, I don't want that around me. Like inner outer situation. It's gonna disturb my inner peace for external factors to be showing me examples of things that I don't rock with. These are conversations that need to be had. But when you keep kicking them down the road, you get so far from it that it becomes a foreign concept. Most folk scared of 13 and 14-year-olds. Don't know what kind of conversation they have. So having a conversation with them about morality and having high character, like speaking to them in Mandarin. You have to define it, you have to give them examples, and then you have to show them examples just to give them the image to have the conversation about. Even then, still won't get it. But you have to describe and break it down and introduce it before you can even try to connect the dots. So if you can't have a conversation about morals and character, you can't have a conversation about anything, because morals and character are foundational concepts. Those are building blocks. That's cement, that's concrete, that's basement level conversation. So to have a conversation about anything other than that doesn't do you any favors. I don't know if you're a high character individual or not. I don't know what morals you have or if you have any morals. But let me have a conversation with you about making money. That's like having a conversation on, man, should I put heated floors, heated towel in my bathroom or not? You don't have a foundation of the house, so how you gonna be worried about putting heated floors down? And to provide another image, raising kids and creating relationships right now is like building faulty houses. They're all gonna fall apart. They're all gonna break down because the foundation wasn't put in first. But because they're selling and because they can look good from the outside, people who know better won't do better. And it's a trickle down effect. The people who have high quality, high high character personalities are supposed to be given an opportunity to others who share the same values to express themselves the same way. You being comfortable being high character, you're supposed to allow other people who are also high character to be comfortable to be the same. So you guys can both influence people who are trying to improve their character, who can then influence people who have no idea what character is, who can influence people who are bad character. But instead, high character folk are just going, man, fuck it. It is what it is. I'm gonna be me. And the folks who aren't comfortable expressing themselves, they either hide away or like sheep, I'm gonna do what's popular. The people with the people with no morals and no character, they feel no shame. Shame comes from high character people. It comes from being an example. Only someone who is an example, who has information, can shame somebody who is the antithesis of such a person. But I'll I'll come back to the same conversation, man. Who are you? Where are you? And the money versus moral, that's the biggest defining question on who are you? What's important you defines who you are. Because what's important you shapes your decision making. And you never know who's watching. So are you going to be on your P's and Q's at all times? Or are you going to say fuck the P's and fuck the Q's at all times? Either way, somebody's watching. You're an example. What kind of example are you giving? This is food for thought, man. But end of the day, you got to keep it real. Not just with others, but with yourself. Got to be authentic and transparent. Got to tell the truth. Got to be real with yourself. You know if you ain't shit or not. Like, you know if you honest or not. Got to have that conversation with yourself before you had a conversation with others. No cap. Back with you tomorrow. Peace. Have that conversation.